Our today's lecture is based on Jonathan Swift's proposal. Here, proposal means some suggestions, some ideas about language purification. And Jonathan Swift wrote a letter to Earl of Oxford, and in this letter, first of all, he described the causes of language corruption, and then he presented the solution of these problems. As we have read earlier, that Jonathan Swift was a satirist. Satirist means he used to satire, he used to criticize the contemporary problems of his own age, and he was a wise scholarly person, and he propounded some new ideas how to resolve those issues. Jonathan Swift was an Anglo-Irish satirist. He was born in 1667 and died in 1745. Jonathan Swift wrote a letter on 22nd February 1711 to Robert Earl of Oxford. In this letter, he mentioned that our English language is extremely imperfect. Why is it imperfect? Because it is full of impurities. Different types of linguistic problems prevail in English language. For instance, its vocabulary is cosmopolitan. Its vocabulary has been borrowed from all languages of the world. It does not have its own vocabulary. Secondly, he highlights that it offends every part of grammar. English grammar is based on Latin grammar, and all English grammatical rules have been derived from Latin grammar. So grammatical parts also offends. Then he says that English is a less refined language. Refined language, the language which is sophisticated, and it has depth in it, and it is capable to convey the refined or delicate feelings, thoughts. He says Latin was not in its purity, that Latin itself was not pure, and Greek and Latin was the language of scholars. So when people write in English language, they use Greek and Latin words in English language. Moreover, it was fashion at that time to use Greek and Latin language, as you must have seen Pakistani youth, that when they speak in Urdu, their Urdu is just 30-40%, and remaining 60% is English language. Sorry. They consider it a very fashionable method to speak Urdu language, in which English vocabulary is dominating. Same was the case with English people, that they used to speak English language, but English went on the back footing, but their Greek and Latin language was dominating. You must have read the biographical essay First Year at Harrow. You find over there that weak students used to learn English language, and brilliant students used to learn Greek and Latin language. So usage of Greek and Latin language in English expressions was very common. Britons went to mountains make Latin words in English as compared to Old Saxons. And English people were in the habit of speaking foreign words in English language. Basically, substandard nations, they feel pride in foreignization. I do apologize for this cough, but we have to work on it. That English language was not pure. It was having foreign languages, and foreignization was always liked by English people. There were different variations in orthography. Orthography means study of spellings. Its spellings were different in different books. Quite astonishingly, when Virgil's Aeneid was translated into English, and in its one translation, we find 6 different spellings for one word. So a non-native speaker or a language learner is absolutely confused that which spellings should be opted and which spellings should be rejected. So there was a problem of orthography. Later on, different movements were started for spelling simplification or spelling rules. So different acts were done, like if 2 letters present the same sound, one was removed, like put, P-U-T-T, one T was removed. In Norman conquest, or before Norman conquest, Edward the Confessor, son of Ethelred the Unready, brought French words in England first time. When we read Norman conquest, we find that Normans occupied England for almost 200 years. Wife came from Normandy, and the entire setup was changed. English language was exiled in its own country, and French language was spoken in English royal courts. So even English language could not get dominance in England. French was dominating. When these foreign rulers occupied England, they changed everything from scratch. School system was based on French language. French newspapers were introduced, French theaters were there, French missionaries were brought, and all fabric of English language was changed into French system. French poetry was promoted, and those who used to write French poetry, they were given financial rewards. French progressed under Harry II, King of France. King of France ruled France from 1547 to 1559. He visited England and France. In this picture, you see a modest proposal by Jonathan Swift. This is the real picture of this pamphlet. French English is unintelligible. French English means people used to speak English, but there were many French words. As I have given the example that our youth speaks Urdu, but this Urdu is English Urdu, that English is dominating in Urdu language. Same is the case in that time. People used to speak French English, in which French language was dominating. People came from other areas to Rome. We know that Roman Empire became the center of, Italy became the center of Roman Empire. So people came from other areas and they learned Latin language, because Latin language was the language of Roman Empire. Wit, eloquence, rhetoric did not prosper in that period. When a nation does not learn its own language, the language also fades, and there is no scientific invention and discovery. Because creativity, creation, and knowledge construction at international paradigms is only possible when a nation speaks its own language. We were saying that in Roman Empire, refined linguistic features like rhetoric, eloquence, wit, it couldn't flourish. And later on, Goths and Vandals, they attacked. Goths and Vandals were two barbaric tribes, and they attacked the Roman Empire many times until the Roman Empire came to an end. So the attacks of these two tribes played their pivotal role to the decline of Roman Empire. Another cause of decline of English language is Greeks spread on coasts of Persia Minor and Aegean Sea. If a region is full of population of some particular ethnic group or linguistic group, that language flourishes in that region or in that area. When Greeks spread on coasts of Persia Minor, so the result is Greek language spread and dominated in those regions. Colonies of Rome. Rome made colony, and Rome occupied whole Europe, and it came till Turkey in the Middle East. So when Roman Empire occupied this area, they established the roots of their language, Latin language, and this influence is still present. Chinese have 2000-year-old books. So it means Chinese educational roots are present, and their writing system is established. And as I understand, as I have read, Chinese nation have the oldest writing history. Moreover, if we focus on English language, court should be for correctness of speech. A royal court, and it should be the mouthpiece of a nation. If a royal court does not speak, national language, it creates the bad image of the country. Jonathan Swift is trying to realize the significance of language for the royal court. If a king speaks French language, this is the disgrace for that English country. Nowadays, we find that powerful nations speak their own language even in the United Nations sessions. They know English language, but even then they prefer to speak their own language. I want to highlight here the example of India. Sushma Siraj, her articles are published in New York Times. It means she is a very good writer in English language, and she was the foreign minister of India. When she went to United Nations in the USA, she delivered speech in Hindi language, and the translators translated that speech into English language. So this is the attachment of their own language. And to see the opposite picture, when our government officers or a president or prime minister, when they go to United Nations, they speak in English language. And even our former president, Mr. Asif Ali Zardari, was delivering speech in English language in Pakistani parliament. Poets from Restoration period spoiled English language. They made abbreviations and they used poetic license. Usually license is issued for correct driving. Driving license assures that the person knows how to drive good, how to drive well. But poetic license gives an authority to a poet to write the spoiled English. Poets of Restoration period made their own abbreviations, and these abbreviations spoiled English language. Basically, there was no bureau or centralized organization which should monitor these changes. If these changes were monitored and approved by that bureau, these modifications or changes are good. But at that time, everybody was changing English language and there was no check and balance. No organization was there to control or to modify or to approve or to give them the status of standardization. Prose writers also corrupted English language. Everybody was trying to change English language to be a unique or to be a different and distinct. And they were trying to capture the attention of the readers through their distinctness. Fancy, fashion, direct about maiming of language, destroying etymology, difficult to read modern books. Those who were highly educated people, even they were feeling difficulty to read modern books because there were some new words, some new expressions, some new semantic shades, and dictionary did not support them, grammatical rules did not approve them, so whatever was going on, it was unchecked. Foolish ideas to have same sound and spelling. Some linguists and philologists they claim that a language should have same sounds, same spellings, but Jonathan Swift considers it a foolish idea to bring such artificial sameness in sounds and spellings. Learning from coffee houses also spoiled English language. People used to sit in the coffee houses and they used to discuss, they used to introduce their new terms, their new linguistic expressions, and they became fashion. So those who were sitting in that company, they were familiar with these new expressions, but commoners were unaware of all these changes. Fear of pedantry is also one cause of language corruption. Pedantry means to worry about some minor things. In fact, language is a living phenomena. Language changes with the passage of time. Nobody can control language in such strict manner that no change should be accepted. When new inventions, discoveries, or situations appear, automatically new vocabulary appears. But there is need of some bureau which should monitor and approve them. As in Pakistan we find Muqtadra Qawmi Zubane Urdu. France has also its own linguistic bureau. Israel has also its linguistic bureau. Germany has its linguistic bureau to make their language pure and standardized. Jonathan Swift is of the view that we are naturally not very polite. If human beings are not polite, obviously their language is not polite. He says English people are rude, so their language is very rude. He says women discard consonant sounds and males discard vowel sound. This was his own observation at that time. So he says when they discard consonant and vowel sounds, the result is language is also corrupted. In this segment, he mentioned different causes of language corruption. And in the next section, he gives solution of language corruption. He says there should be free judicious choice. There should be wise choice of words, and this should be the appropriate. And his major emphasis is on fixation of rules. That language rules, grammatical rules should be fixed, and every English writer should follow those rules. Many words should be thrown out of the language because English alternative expression is present in English language, but people want to give foreignization or to give their superior semantic shade, and they use foreign words. He says foreign words should be removed from English language. If not all foreign words, so but many foreign words or many non-English words should be removed. He is also of the opinion that many words should be corrected. Word correction means their spellings should be corrected. Their meanings should be corrected. And their usage or sense should be corrected. Or their collocation should be corrected. So spoiled language should be corrected. And that corrected language is the standardized language. It is better a language should not be wholly perfect than it should be perpetually changing. Jonathan Swift was well aware that if a language does not change, the language will die. Borrowing words from other languages is like an oxygen. Suppose WhatsApp has been introduced, it has become so common in the whole world, and if a language does not adopt it, the result is there is chaos. Simplicity, greatest perfections in any language. Simplicity is the essence of language. Basically, the language should be able to communicate. The language should be simple, and its ideas should be simple, easy to understand, and easy to convey others. English became a global language. If it was difficult, non-native speakers cannot learn it. So simplicity is the hallmark of any language. English language with permission of society. He says English language should be established. English language should be propagated with the permission of society. It means permission of society does not mean to take permission from all and sundry and from each and every person. No, it means acceptability in the society. And society should adopt it. Horace, Roman poet and satirist, you can look at his picture in the right corner. Horace said, "Words going off and perishing like leaves, and new ones coming in their place." Horace gave a very judicious example that all living trees, they shed their old leaves and new leaves emerge. In the same way, old, obsolete words fall down. They are removed from the language automatically and new words appear. If a language follows this system, leaving old words and adopting new words, it will survive as plants survive. Another view of Jonathan is glory of king will increase. If there is a standard language, if standard language is spoken in the royal court, where major decisions are being presented, so glory of king will increase. Moreover, decisions of any royal court become history, and they become the part of archives, and history never dies, especially of the elite class. So history preserves language. If the royal court will have distorted language, and next centuries will criticize the bad language of royal family and the royal court. Rude Latin of the monks is still very unintelligible. Jonathan Swift, he says, a religious society, monks, ecclesiastical society, their Latin language is so rude and it is unintelligible. We cannot understand. Basically, religious people want to introduce religious terminology, and he says common man cannot understand them. Their religious language should be simplified so that a common person can understand religion. The last point is the reign of Queen Anne. Robert, Earl of Oxford, a very wise and excellent man, saved their country during war. He says, as the Queen and Earl of Oxford, they have saved the country during war. They saved the physical territory of the country. In the same way, they should preserve, they should safeguard the linguistic boundary of English language. He says physical protection is also important, but linguistic protection is equally important. And Robert Earl of Oxford and Queen Anne, both of them should work in collaboration to save English language and its true essence or its true form should be restored. So Jonathan Swift's proposal was about pinpointing the weaknesses or the anomalies of English language and how can we uproot those anomalies. Thank you so much. If you have any question, you can ask your questions through Google Class or through Namal LMS or through other sources. Thank you so much.